I'm watching my life end in real time. 47 seconds. That's how long the photo's been live. Already 50,000 views. Already thousands of comments telling me I'm worthless. That I'm using him. That I should leave Korea. His managers are calling. I can't answer. I can't breathe. 3 months ago I was nobody. Just a broke translator who helped a stranger in a mask escape some screaming fans. I didn't ask his name. Big mistake. Because that stranger was Han Jiwoo, Korea's biggest solo artist. And somehow, we fell for each other. This is what happened when I stopped running. When we both chose truth over safety. It started on a random Tuesday in Seoul, when I had absolutely nothing left to lose. Zara's phone buzzed for the 5th time in 10 minutes. Another rejection email. She didn't bother opening it. Instead, she sat on a bench in Itaewon, watching couples walk past with shopping bags and linked arms, wondering how she'd managed to mess up so spectacularly. 3 months in Seoul, 2 failed jobs, 1 exhausted dream. The coffee shop had let her go that morning. Cultural misunderstanding, her manager had said, though what he really meant was that Zara had corrected his Korean in front of a regular customer. She'd been polite about it. He hadn't. Now she had 6 weeks until her visa expired, and about 50,000 won to her name. She closed her eyes and let the autumn wind hit her face. Maybe it was time to go home to Cape Town. Admit defeat. Tell her mother she'd been right about chasing fantasies in Asia. Excuse me. The voice was low, urgent. Zara opened her eyes. A man stood in front of her, tall, lean, wearing a black mask and a baseball cap pulled low. But it was his eyes that caught her, sharp. Almost luminous in the fading afternoon light, silver strands of hair escaped from under the cap. "Please," he said in English, slightly accented, "just walk with me, like we're together." Zara blinked. "What? They'll think I'm with a girlfriend. They'll leave?" She heard them before she saw them, a growing rumble of voices, footsteps, excitement. A crowd was forming at the end of the street. Every instinct told her to say no, to stay out of whatever this was. But there was something in his voice, desperation that mirrored her own. "Fine," she said, standing, "but you're buying me lunch." Relief flooded his eyes. She looped her arm through his, trying to ignore how her heart hammered, and pulled him toward the nearest restaurant, a small gamjatang place with steamed-up windows. They slipped inside just as the crowd rushed past. Through the window, Zara saw them. Teenage girls, some crying, some holding phones up, and behind them, men with cameras. Paparazzi. "Who are you?" she asked as they sat. He didn't answer, just watched the window until the crowd dispersed. Zara ordered potato soup for both of them, partly because she was hungry, and partly because sitting in silence felt ridiculous. When the Ajumma brought their food, the man finally relaxed slightly, though he kept the mask on. "You didn't take a picture," he said. "Of what? Me? Should I have?" For the first time, she thought she saw him almost smile behind the mask. "You going to eat that?" He pushed the bowl toward her. As she ate his portion too, he pulled out his phone. His fingers moved quickly across the screen. She looked up, shocked. "I was joking about the lunch. I wasn't." He stood, adjusting his cap. "Next time I have the chance." "Wait, you didn't even tell me." But he was already gone. Zara sat there, staring at the money on her screen, at the untouched silver strands of hair on the chair across from her, wondering what had just happened. The following Tuesday, Zara walked into Ascend Entertainment with a folder of certificates she'd printed at a PC Bang, and a rehearsed speech about why she'd be an asset to their team. The building was glass and steel, all sharp angles and minimalist design. Inside, the walls were covered with posters of beautiful people idols, actors, models. Korea's elite. She'd applied for a cultural liaison translator position on a whim. The job description had been vague, but the pay was more than double what the coffee shop had offered. 3 people sat across from her in the interview room. 2 women in their 30s, 1 man who looked to be in his 40s with salt and pepper hair and a sharp suit. His name tag read, Manager Kang. "Your Korean is very good," one of the women said, scanning Zara's resume. "Thank you. I studied for 2 years before moving here." "And you speak English, Zulu, Xhosa, Afrikaans, and Sesotho. I also understand some Swahili and Portuguese." The 3 exchanged glances. Manager Kang leaned forward. We're expanding our content for African and diaspora markets, but we've had complications. He turned his laptop toward her. On the screen was a TikTok video, a young idol with styled hair and perfect skin speaking to the camera. The comments were in various languages, but many were in Zulu and Xhosa, and they were mocking him. This video has 2 million views in South Africa alone, Manager Kang said. We thought it was performing well, but our team noticed the comments seemed negative. Can you tell us why? Zara watched the video. The idol smiled, said a phrase in Zulu, Ngiakubona, I see you. A respectful greeting. Except his pronunciation was completely wrong. What he'd actually said sounded far closer to a Xhosa phrase that was less respectful. Much less. He's accidentally insulting them, Zara said carefully. The room went silent. The phrase he's trying to say is a greeting. What he actually said... She paused. Let's just say millions of people think he's mocking them. If this continues, you won't have an African market to expand into. Manager Kang's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. Can you fix it? Record a correction video within 24 hours, in his voice with proper coaching. Issue it as a pronunciation guide so it doesn't look like damage control, and hire someone who actually speaks these languages to vet your content before it goes live. Someone like you, someone exactly like me. Manager Kang closed his laptop. When can you start? Her first day was overwhelming. Ascend Entertainment managed dozens of artists, actors, models, variety show stars. But their crown jewels were their K-pop idols. Zara was given a desk, a company laptop, and a stack of content to review. Music videos, Instagram captions, interview transcripts. Every piece of content that would be released to African markets needed her approval. It was tedious work, but it was work. And it paid. She was in the break room getting coffee when she heard the commotion. He's back from Japan. Did you see his airport photos? His hair is black again. I miss the silver. A group of staff members rushed past, all craning to see down the hallway. Zara followed their gaze, and there he was, tall, black turtleneck, dark jeans, hair freshly dyed black but with silver still visible at the roots, and those eyes, sharp, luminous, unmistakable. The man from the restaurant. He walked past with 2 managers flanking him, professional, untouchable. He didn't look at anyone, until he looked at her. Their eyes met for half a second. His expression didn't change, but she saw it, the flicker of recognition. Then he was gone. That's Han Jiwoo, a woman next to Zara whispered reverently. Fastest rising solo artist in Korea right now. His last single hit #1 in 12 countries. He's preparing for his first world tour. Zara's coffee had gone cold in her hands. She spent the rest of the day trying to focus on work, but her mind kept drifting. The man from the restaurant was Han Jiwoo, one of the biggest names in K-pop, and he'd paid her 100,000 won for soup and silence. By evening, most of the staff had left. Zara was finishing up a review of promotional materials when her desk phone rang. Miss Ndlovu? Manager Kang would like to see you in conference room B. Her stomach dropped. Had she made a mistake already? Missed something critical in the content she'd reviewed? She took the elevator to the 5th floor, her mind racing through every piece of work she'd touched that day. Manager Kang was waiting in the conference room, along with another man she didn't recognize, younger, maybe early 30s, with wire-rimmed glasses and a tablet in his hands. Sit, Manager Kang said. She sat. We're assigning you directly to Jiwoo's team, he said without preamble. He's preparing for his first world tour. 3 stops in Africa. Johannesburg, Lagos, Nairobi. You'll be coaching him on cultural content, reviewing his promotional materials, and consulting on his stage presence for those markets. Zara's mouth went dry. Me? You're the only person in this building who knows what you're talking about when it comes to that audience. And after what you caught with the TikTok video... He fixed her with a measured look. We can't afford another mistake. Not with him. The other man spoke up. I'm Assistant Manager Lee. I handle Jiwoo's daily schedule. You'll report directly to me and Manager Kang. Jiwoo's schedule is intense. Rehearsals from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. most days, with breaks for meals and content creation. Your sessions with him will be scheduled during his content review blocks, typically between 8 and 10 p.m. When do I start? Tomorrow, Manager Kang said. 6 p.m. Practice room 7A. Don't be late. Practice room 7A was on the 7th floor. Floor-to-ceiling mirrors, polished wood floors, speakers in every corner. And in the center, stretching in front of the mirror, was Jiwoo. He wore a simple white t-shirt and black joggers. His silver-black hair was pushed back with a headband. He glanced up when she entered, and for a moment, neither of them spoke. You didn't sell the photo, he said finally. Zara set her bag down carefully. What photo? Most people would have taken one, sold it. You didn't even ask my name. I didn't care who you were. He straightened, and for the first time since the restaurant, she saw him smile. Small, but real. I'm Jiwoo, I know. I'm Zara, I know. He gestured to the floor. Manager Kang says you're supposed to fix my African content, something like that. She pulled out her laptop and showed him the promotional video his team had prepared for the Johannesburg stop. It opened with him speaking Zulu, or attempting to. Sawubona, he said in the video. Hello. Except it sounded like Sabona, which meant nothing, and his tone was all wrong. Can I be honest? Zara asked. Please, this sounds like you learned it phonetically without understanding what you're saying. African audiences will know. They always know. Instead of getting defensive, he nodded. Show me how to fix it. She spent the next hour breaking down the pronunciation, the tonal differences, the cultural context of greetings in different South African languages. He recorded himself on his phone, played it back, adjusted, tried again. He was meticulous, patient. When he finally got it right, he looked genuinely pleased. Again, he said, I want to make sure I remember it. They went through it 3 more times. Why does this matter so much to you? She asked. Jiwoo looked at her, then away. Because if I'm going to perform for them, I should respect them enough to get it right. I'm asking them to spend money, to give me their time. The least I can do is learn to greet them properly. She hadn't expected that. By the time they finished, it was nearly 11 p.m. Jiwoo's next schedule was at 6 a.m., a photo shoot for a magazine cover. Do you ever sleep? She asked as they packed up. Sometimes. He pulled on a hoodie. Do you always stay this late? First day. Wanted to make a good impression. You did. As they walked to the elevator together, he asked, The money I sent you, did it help? It kept me fed for 2 weeks, so yes, good. The elevator arrived. They stepped inside. I meant what I said, about lunch. When I have time. You're an idol. You never have time. I'll make time. The elevator doors opened on the ground floor. His manager was waiting, along with 2 security guards. Jiwoo SSI, the manager said, barely glancing at Zara. Your car is ready. Jiwoo nodded, but turned back to her. Same time tomorrow? If that's the schedule, it is now. Over the following 2 weeks, they fell into a routine. Every evening, 8 to 10 p.m., practice room 7A. She'd review his content, upcoming music videos, social media posts, interview talking points. She'd correct pronunciation, explain cultural context, teach him phrases in Zulu and Xhosa. He was a perfectionist. If he couldn't get something right in one session, he'd practice overnight and show her the next day. You recorded yourself saying, Njiyabunga 50 times? She asked, scrolling through the timestamps on his practice videos. 60. I deleted the bad ones. Jiwoo, you're supposed to sleep? I did. For 4 hours. That's not sleeping. That's blinking slowly. He almost laughed at that. Almost. As the days passed, the formality between them began to crack. He'd ask about Cape Town, about her family, about why she'd come to Korea. She'd ask about his music, about what it was like to live his life. He never gave easy answers. Always careful, always measured. You don't trust easily, she observed one evening. People aren't usually what they seem, he said quietly. They want something, a photo, a story, proximity to fame. Not everyone. No, he agreed, looking at her. Not everyone. One evening, after a session on West African pidgin phrases for the Lagos concert, he asked her to stay a bit longer. I want to show you something. He pulled up a track on his phone, a demo. His voice over a stripped-back beat, singing in Korean. What do you think? It's beautiful. Sad, though. It's about isolation, about being seen by millions of people and still feeling invisible. She understood that more than she wanted to admit. Will this be on your album? Maybe. My label thinks it's too depressing. He paused. What do you think? I think the songs that hurt to make are usually the ones people need to hear. He looked at her for a long moment. I'm glad you're here, Zara. It was the first time he'd said her name like that. Not formal, not distant, just her name. Me too. 3 weeks into working together, something changed. Jiwoo started texting her outside of work. At first it was professional, questions about content, double-checking pronunciations. Then it became something else, memes, song recommendations, late-night thoughts about life and pressure and expectations. One night at 2 a.m. he sent her a voice note. A melody he'd been working on hummed softly. She sent one back, her singing a Xhosa lullaby her grandmother used to sing. The next morning, he was waiting for her outside her office. Teach me that song. So she did. They spent their evening session sitting on the practice room floor, her teaching him the words, him recording every phrase. His pronunciation was terrible at first, but he kept trying. Why this song? She asked. Because you love it. I can hear it in your voice. Something in her chest tightened. Over the next few days, they kept working on it. By the end of the week, he could sing the entire first verse. His accent was still obvious, but the meaning was there. It means you are not alone, she told him. My grandmother sang it to me when I was scared. Are you scared now? She thought about her visa, about the uncertainty, about how her life seemed to constantly be falling apart. Sometimes, he reached over and squeezed her hand briefly. You're not alone. The following evening, Jiwoo's schedule ran late. A music video shoot that was supposed to wrap at 7 p.m. went until 9:30. When he finally showed up to their session, he looked exhausted. We can reschedule, Zara offered. No, I need this. They worked through the content, but his focus was scattered. He kept missing pronunciations he'd mastered days ago. When she corrected him for the third time, he snapped. I know, I'm trying, Jiwoo. Just give me a second. He stood abruptly and walked to the window. His shoulders were tense. Zara gave him space. After a moment, she said quietly, You don't have to be perfect all the time. Yes, I do. His voice was strained. That's the job. The job is being human. People don't love you because you're perfect. They love you because you make them feel something. He turned to look at her. His eyes were red-rimmed. What if I can't do that anymore? What if I'm just empty? She stood and walked over to him. You're not empty. You're exhausted. There's a difference. How do you know? Because empty people don't care about getting Zulu greetings right. They don't stay up all night practicing a grandmother's lullaby. You care, Jiwoo. Maybe too much. His jaw tightened. For a moment she thought he might cry. Instead, he said, I have a schedule at 5 a.m. tomorrow. Another photo shoot. Then rehearsal until midnight. Then a fan call event. Then, when do you breathe? I don't. She understood then. The weight he carried, the impossibility of it all. Come on, she said. We're taking a break. She led him out of the practice room, down the hallway to the vending machines on the 5th floor. She bought 2 bottles of banana milk. Sit. They sat on the floor, backs against the wall, drinking milk in silence. When I was a kid, Zara said, my grandmother used to tell me that rest isn't weakness. It's preparation. You can't pour from an empty cup. Your grandmother sounds wise. She was... Zara smiled. She also used to say that stubbornness and strength look the same until you break. Jiwoo was quiet for a moment. Then I don't know how to not be this. You don't have to figure it out tonight. They sat there for 20 minutes, just breathing, just existing. When they finally stood to leave, Jiwoo said, Thank you. For what? For not asking me to be okay. She squeezed his hand. You don't have to be okay. You just have to be honest. That night, he texted her at 3 a.m. Are you awake? Now I am. What's wrong? Nothing. I just wanted to say thank you again. For today, you already did. I know. But I meant it. She smiled at her phone in the darkness of her tiny apartment. Get some sleep, Jiwoo. You too, Zara. But neither of them did. The next 2 weeks blurred together. Jiwoo's schedule intensified as the tour date approached. Rehearsals, interviews, fittings, promotional appearances, their sessions became the only consistent part of his day. And somewhere along the way, they stopped being just work. He'd say funny things to tell her. She'd bring him coffee the way he liked it, iced Americano, less ice. They developed their own shorthand, their own jokes. When he was tired, he'd rest his head on her shoulder while she reviewed scripts. When she was frustrated with a particularly difficult translation, he'd play her demos until she laughed. Manager Kang noticed. "You're spending a lot of time with Jiwoo," he said one afternoon, calling her into his office. "That's my job. Your job is cultural consulting, not friendship." Zara kept her expression neutral. "He trusts me. That makes the work more effective. Trust is fine. Attachment is dangerous." Manager Kang leaned back in his chair. Jiwoo's career is at a critical point. One scandal, one distraction, and years of work disappear. Do you understand what I'm saying? You're saying I'm a distraction. I'm saying be careful. For both your sakes. She left his office with her stomach in knots. That evening she almost canceled their session, almost texted that she was sick, that they should reschedule. But she couldn't do that to him, not when his tour was 2 weeks away and they still had so much content to finalize. When she arrived at the practice room, Jiwoo was already there, pacing. "Everything okay?" she asked. "I had a meeting with the executives today, about the tour." He ran a hand through his hair. "They want me to cut the African stops." Zara's heart sank. "What? Why?" "Ticket sales are slower than expected in Lagos and Nairobi. They think it's not worth the investment." His voice was tight with frustration. "I told them that's because we haven't done enough promotion in those markets, that the content is just starting to gain traction. But they don't care. They want guaranteed sellouts." "What about Johannesburg? That one's staying. For now." He stopped pacing and looked at her. "I'm not giving up. I told them I'd cover the costs myself if I had to." "Jiwoo, you can't. I can, and I will." His jaw set stubbornly. "We've worked too hard on this, and those audiences deserve to see someone who actually gives a damn about getting it right." She wanted to hug him. Instead, she said, "Then we'd better make sure Johannesburg is so good they regret cutting the other cities." They worked until midnight, perfecting every detail of the Johannesburg content. When they finally stopped, they were both exhausted. "Walk with me," Jiwoo said. They took the stairs down instead of the elevator, their footsteps echoing in the empty stairwell. Most of the building was dark now, just security lights and the occasional office where someone was working late. "Can I tell you something?" Jiwoo asked as they reached the ground floor. "Always, I've never had someone who wasn't on my payroll that I could just talk to. Everyone in my life is there because of my career. My managers, my stylists, my members before I went solo. Even my friends, most of them are other idols. We understand each other, but there's always this performance, this awareness that anything we say could leak." They stopped in the lobby. Security nodded at them from his desk, but didn't approach. "But you," Jiwoo continued, "you met me before you knew who I was. And you still didn't care. You just wanted soup." Zara laughed softly. "Your soup, which you didn't even eat. I was too nervous." He smiled. "You were very direct. It was terrifying. I'm still very direct. I know. It's my favorite thing about you." The air between them shifted. Zara felt her pulse quicken. "Jiwoo." "I know," he said quietly. "I know we can't. I know it's complicated. But I wanted you to know that you're important to me, as a person, not as staff. You're important to me too." They stood there for a moment, the space between them charged with everything they couldn't say. Finally, Jiwoo stepped back. "I should let you go home. It's late." "Yeah." Neither of them moved. Then Jiwoo's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and sighed. "Manager Lee wants to confirm tomorrow's call time." The spell broke. They walked to the exit together. His car was waiting. Hers was a subway ride and a bus. "Text me when you get home?" he asked. "Always do." She watched his car disappear into the Seoul night, then started her journey home, her heart still racing. The tour was 1 week away when everything fell apart. Jiwoo's final rehearsal was scheduled for a Thursday evening at a concert venue in Gangnam. The full production, lights, sound, stage effects. Zara wasn't supposed to be there, but Manager Lee had asked her to come review the video content that would play during costume changes. The venue was massive, empty seats stretching up into darkness. On stage, Jiwoo ran through his set list with a dozen backup dancers. Zara watched from the tech booth, reviewing the video files with the production team. Everything was perfect. His pronunciations, the cultural references, the imagery. Months of work coming together. During a break, she went backstage to grab water. The corridors behind the stage were a maze of equipment cases and costume racks. She was heading back when she heard it, crying, quiet but unmistakable. She followed the sound to a storage room. The door was slightly open. Jiwoo sat on the floor, back against a wall of equipment cases, head in his hands. His shoulders shook. "Jiwoo?" He looked up, startled. His face was blotchy, eyes red. He tried to compose himself, to put on the mask. "Don't," she said softly. "Don't do that. Not with me," he broke. She crossed the room and sat beside him on the floor. Didn't ask what was wrong, didn't try to fix it, just sat. His breathing was ragged, uneven. A panic attack, she realized. She'd seen her younger brother have them during exam season. "Breathe with me," she said gently. "In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. She demonstrated. He tried to follow. It took time, but eventually his breathing steadied. The shaking slowed. "It's too much," he whispered finally. "All of it. The expectations, the pressure, everyone watching, waiting for me to fail or succeed, and I don't even know which would be worse anymore." She took his hand. His fingers were ice cold. "You don't have to have all the answers right now. I don't have any answers." His voice cracked. "I'm 24 years old, and I don't know who I am outside of this. I've been performing since I was 16. I don't know how to just exist." "You're existing right now, am I?" He looked at her. "Or am I just breaking down? Maybe both. Maybe that's okay." They sat in silence for a long moment. The storage room smelled like dust and equipment oil. Somewhere in the distance, she could hear the production team calling for Jiwoo. "They need you," she said. "Can you go back?" He nodded, wiped his face, started to stand, then stopped. "Zara, thank you for not asking me to be okay. You don't have to be okay. You just have to be honest." He squeezed her hand once, then let go. Neither of them saw the shadow in the hallway, the staff member who'd been looking for Jiwoo, phone already out, already taking photos. The photos surfaced the next morning. Zara woke up to her phone exploding with notifications, messages from numbers she didn't recognize, tags on Instagram. Her email inbox flooded. Her hands shook as she opened the first link. Han Jiwoo's secret backstage romance? K-pop star caught in intimate moment with foreign staff member. The photo was dark but clear enough. Her and Jiwoo on the floor of the storage room, their hands clasped, their heads close together. The angle made it look intimate, romantic, like a stolen moment between lovers. The article speculated wildly. How long had they been seeing each other? Was this why he'd insisted on African tour stops? Was she using him for a visa, for money, for fame? The comments were worse. "She's clearly a gold digger. Using him to stay in Korea. He can do so much better." Of course she's after his money. Look at her. And the racial slurs, the assumptions, the hatred from people who didn't know her, would never know her, but had already decided who she was. Her phone rang. Manager Kang, my office. Now, she threw on clothes and took a taxi to the company. The ride cost more than she wanted to spend, but she couldn't face the subway, couldn't face the possibility of being recognized. Manager Kang's office felt like a tribunal. He sat behind his desk. Manager Lee stood by the window, and a woman Zara had never met, sharp suit, sharper expression, sat in the corner with the tablet. "Do you understand what you've done?" Manager Kang's voice was ice. "I was helping him. He was having a panic attack. I don't care if he was dying. You do not put yourself in that position. Ever?" He slammed a folder on his desk. "Do you know how many calls we fielded in the last 3 hours? Sponsors reconsidering their contracts, fans threatening to boycott the tour, the press demanding statements." "That's not my fault. Someone took that photo. It doesn't matter whose fault it is." Manager Kang stood. "What matters is damage control. What matters is protecting a $50 million tour and a career that took 8 years to build." The woman in the corner spoke for the first time. "I'm Attorney Park. I handle crisis management for the company." She swiped through her tablet. "We have several options. We can claim you were providing medical assistance." "She was," Zara interjected. "Or we can position this as a malicious invasion of privacy and pursue the person who took the photo. But both of those options require cooperation from you." Attorney Park looked up. "The third option is simpler. You resign, Effective immediately. Sign an NDA. We release a statement saying you were a temporary contractor whose services are no longer needed and that there was no personal relationship. Zara's stomach dropped. You want me to disappear. We want to protect our artist, Manager Kang said flatly, and whether you believe it or not, we're also protecting you. The longer this story lives, the worse it gets for everyone. Does Jiwoo know about this? Silence. Does he know? She repeated. Manager Lee shifted uncomfortably. He's been in emergency meetings with the executives all morning. We haven't briefed him on all the options yet. So you're making decisions about his life without telling him. We're doing our job, Manager Kang said. Now you need to decide if you're going to do yours. Are you going to help him or hurt him? The question hung in the air like a blade. I need to talk to him first. That's not possible. Then make it possible. Zara stood. You want me to sign away my life? Fine, but I deserve to hear from him first. Attorney Park and Manager Kang exchanged glances. Finally, Manager Kang nodded. One conversation, supervised. Then you decide. They brought her to a private conference room. Small, windowless, suffocating. Manager Kang and Attorney Park waited outside. Jiwoo came in 10 minutes later. He looked like he hadn't slept. His eyes found hers immediately. Zara, they want me to resign, sign an NDA, pretend none of this happened. He stopped. What? They're giving me a choice. Leave quietly, or they'll make this worse for both of us. His jaw clenched. They can't do that. They can. And they're right. She forced herself to stay calm. This is your career, Jiwoo, your dream. I won't be the reason it falls apart. You're not the reason. Someone took that photo. Someone violated our privacy. But I was there. I should have known better. You were helping me. His voice broke slightly. I was falling apart and you were there. That's not wrong. It doesn't matter if it's wrong. It matters what people think. He crossed the room, stopped inches from her. What do you want to do? She wanted to stay, wanted to fight, wanted to tell him that she'd fallen for him somewhere between teaching him lullabies and watching him care about things that didn't benefit him. But she'd seen the comments, the hatred, the way the world was ready to destroy both of them over a moment of human compassion. I want you to have your tour, your career, everything you've worked for. And you? I'll figure it out. I always do. His eyes searched hers. This isn't fair. No, it's not. Finally, Jiwoo reached into his bag, pulled out a folded piece of fabric. A scarf, traditional South African print, vibrant colors, gold, red, green, black, the colors of her flag, woven into traditional Ndebele patterns. I ordered this 2 weeks ago. I was going to give it to you after the Johannesburg concert. His hands trembled slightly. It's handmade. From a woman in Soweto. I found her shop online. Zara's eyes burned. The pattern means Ubuntu, he continued. I am because we are. I looked it up, learned the whole philosophy. He pressed the scarf into her hands. You taught me that connection matters more than perfection, that being human is more important than being famous. I won't forget that. I won't forget you. She clutched the scarf, the fabric soft against her fingers. Jiwoo, I have to do the tour. They're right about that. But after... He looked at her intently. After I'm done living by their rules. I don't know what that looks like yet, but I know I want you in my life. However that works, you don't know what you're saying. Yes, I do. His voice was steady now. For the first time in years, I actually know what I'm saying. Someone knocked on the door. Time was up. I need to let you go, Zara whispered. For both of us, I know. He stepped back, his eyes never leaving hers. But I'm not letting go of you. Not really. The door opened. Manager Kang stepped in. We need to move forward with the plan. Zara nodded. She folded the scarf carefully, held it against her chest. I'll sign the NDA. Jiwoo's face crumpled. Zara signed the paperwork that afternoon. Attorney Park walked her through every clause, non-disclosure, non-disparagement, a severance package that was more generous than she'd expected. Hush money, really. You'll receive 6 months' salary, Attorney Park explained. In exchange, you agree not to discuss your work with any Ascend Entertainment artists, not to contact Han Jiwoo or any member of his team, and not to speak to media about your employment here. What if he contacts me? Attorney Park's expression didn't change. We'd strongly advise against responding, for both of your sakes. Zara signed. By evening, she was back in her tiny apartment in Mapo, staring at the scarf Jiwoo had given her. She'd spread it across her bed, the colors vivid against her plain white sheets. Ubuntu, I am because we are. Her phone buzzed constantly, messages from people at the company she barely knew, asking if she was okay, if the rumors were true. She ignored them all, except one. Her mother calling from Cape Town. Zara, baby, I saw the news. Are you all right? She hadn't cried yet, hadn't let herself. But hearing her mother's voice broke something loose. I'm fine, Mama. You're not. I can hear it. A pause. Are you coming home? I don't know. Maybe. You can always come home. You know that, right? I know. They talked for an hour. Her mother didn't ask about Jiwoo. Didn't pry into what had really happened. Just listened. Just reminded Zara that she was loved, that she was strong, that this wasn't the end of her story. When they hung up, Zara felt slightly less like she was drowning. She opened her laptop and started searching for jobs. Translation work, remote positions, anything that would let her stay in Korea long enough to figure out what came next, or give her a reason to go somewhere new. Her phone buzzed again. This time, a message from an unknown number. I'm sorry. Her heart stopped. Manager Kang took my phone. They're monitoring everything. But I needed you to know I didn't want this, any of this. I'm so sorry. It had to be Jiwoo. But if they were monitoring him... She deleted the message without responding. Opened her settings and blocked the number. It was the kindest thing she could do for both of them. The next week was torture. Jiwoo's tour launched in Seoul to sold-out crowds. The reviews were glowing: his performance, his stage presence, his connection with the audience. The scandal had only seemed to increase interest in him. Zara watched clips online, hating herself for it. There he was, performing the Shosa lullaby she'd taught him as an encore. The crowd went wild. The comments praised his cultural sensitivity, his dedication to African audiences. No one mentioned her. The official statement from Ascend Entertainment had been brief. Ms. Ndlovu was a temporary cultural consultant whose contract has ended. We wish her well in her future endeavors. There was no personal relationship between Ms. Ndlovu and any of our artists. Clean, simple, erased. On the 8th day after she signed the NDA, manager Kang called. How are you doing? The question surprised her. Fine, good. I want you to know what we did wasn't personal. You're talented. Under different circumstances, you would have had a long career here. But these aren't different circumstances. No, they're not. He paused. Jiwoo's struggling. He's performing well, but he's not himself. Refuses interviews. Barely speaks to staff. The tour continues next week. Tokyo, then Bangkok, then Johannesburg. Why are you telling me this? Because I think he needs closure. And maybe you do too. Another pause. After Johannesburg, his contract with us is up for renewal. He's already told us he's not re-signing. He wants independence, more control over his career. We'll lose him. He's making the right choice, perhaps. But he's also throwing away a support system he'll need. Fame doesn't get easier when you're alone. Manager Kang's voice softened slightly. I'm not asking you to contact him. I'm just telling you he hasn't forgotten you, and I don't think he will. Is there a point to this call, Manager Kang? Yes. When your visa expires, if you need a reference for future employment, you can list me. I'll make sure you land somewhere good. It was an olive branch. A small one, but genuine. Thank you. Take care of yourself, Ms. Ndlovu. He hung up. Zara sat in her apartment, staring at the scarf, at her laptop with its open job applications, at her life that had been upended in the span of a photograph. She made a decision. She would stay in Seoul for 3 more months, finish out her visa, find work, prove to herself that she could build something here on her own terms. And then, if nothing else worked out, she'd go home. But she wouldn't run. Not yet. 2 weeks later, Jiwoo's tour reached Tokyo, then Bangkok. The reviews continued to be exceptional. His solo performances of the Shosa lullaby became the viral moment of each show, fans posting videos, Korean media praising his global appeal. Zara forced herself to stop watching. She'd found freelance translation work, corporate documents, medical papers. Nothing glamorous, but enough to pay rent. She'd started taking Korean language classes again, not because she needed them, but because she needed structure. Routine. Something to fill the hours. She was in class when her phone buzzed with a news alert. Han Jiwoo makes bold statement. I won't renew with Ascend Entertainment. I need artistic freedom. Her heart raced as she read the article. He'd done it, actually walked away. The press conference had been brutal, according to the coverage. Questions about the scandal, about her, about whether he was making a mistake. He'd refused to discuss the photo, refused to name her, but he'd been clear about his reasons for leaving. I'm grateful for everything Ascend has done for me, he'd said. But I need to make music on my own terms. I need to control my own narrative. And I need to live in a way that feels honest. The final show of his tour was scheduled for Johannesburg in 2 weeks. Zara stared at the article for a long time. Then she did something reckless. She bought a plane ticket. The flight from Seoul to Johannesburg was 15 hours. Zara spent most of it second-guessing herself. What was she doing? Jiwoo had moved on. He was building a new career, free from the constraints that had suffocated him. Showing up at his concert was selfish, desperate, but she couldn't shake the image of him in that storage room, breaking down, trusting her with his vulnerability. And she couldn't forget what he'd said, I won't forget you. Maybe closure was a gift they could give each other. She landed in Johannesburg on a Wednesday morning. The city felt surreal after months in Seoul, the warmth, the sounds, the languages she understood without translation. Home, but not quite. She took a taxi to her mother's house in Soweto. Her mother cried when she opened the door, pulled Zara into a hug that lasted minutes. I didn't think you'd come back. I didn't either. How long are you staying? I don't know yet. Her mother didn't push, just made tea, made food, let Zara settle into the familiar rhythms of home. That evening, Zara told her mother about Jiwoo. About the restaurant, the job, the connection they'd built, the way it had all fallen apart. And now he's performing here, her mother said, in 2 days. Yes. Are you going to see him? I bought a ticket, back row. I need to see him perform, see that he's okay. Her mother squeezed her hand. And then I figure out what comes next. The concert was at the FNB Stadium. 40,000 people. Zara had never seen anything like it. The lights, the production, the sheer scale of it all. She sat in the upper deck, far enough away that she was just another face in the crowd. Around her, fans screamed, sang along, held up signs in Korean and English and Zulu. When Jiwoo took the stage, the stadium erupted. He was mesmerizing, confident, every movement precise, every note perfect. He performed songs in Korean, in English, and then, midway through the show, he switched to Zulu. The lullaby. The crowd lost their minds. Zara's eyes burned as she watched him sing the words she'd taught him, his pronunciation nearly perfect now, his voice carrying the melody across 40,000 people. He'd kept it. Even after everything, he'd kept it. After the song ended, he spoke to the crowd in English. This song means a lot to me. It was taught to me by someone who showed me that connection is more important than perfection, that being human matters more than being famous. He paused. I don't know if she's listening tonight, but if she is, thank you. For everything. The crowd cheered. They thought it was a general sentiment, a gracious moment. But Zara knew. She knew it was for her. After the concert, she didn't try to go backstage, didn't try to contact him, just walked back to her taxi, her heart full and breaking at the same time. She'd seen what she needed to see. He was okay. More than okay. He was thriving, and maybe that was enough. But as her taxi pulled away from the stadium, her phone buzzed. An Instagram DM. From an account she didn't recognize, no profile picture, no posts created 2 hours ago. I saw you in the crowd. Upper deck, section 12. You were wearing the scarf. Her hands shook. I'm at the Michelangelo Hotel, room 804, if you want to talk. No pressure. But I'd really like to see you. Zara stared at the message for the entire ride home. When she got there, her mother was waiting. What happened? He saw me. He wants to meet. What do you want to do? Zara looked at the scarf draped over her bag, at the phone in her hands, at the possibility of something she'd thought was lost. I want to see him. Her mother smiled. Then go. The Michelangelo Hotel was in Santon, all glass and marble and luxury. Zara felt out of place in her jeans and sneakers, the scarf wrapped around her shoulders. She texted the number from the Instagram account. I'm in the lobby. Coming down. Her heart hammered. Around her, hotel guests moved through the lobby, business people, tourists, families. Normal people living normal lives. Then the elevator doors opened. Jiwoo stepped out, and her breath caught. He wore a simple black hoodie and jeans, a mask covering half his face, but his eyes found hers immediately. He crossed the lobby quickly, not quite running but close. "Hi," he said when he reached her. They stood there, awkward, neither knowing what to do next. "Do you want to go somewhere?" he asked. "We can talk in my room, or we can go out, or—" "Your room is fine." They took the elevator in silence, the 8th floor, down a hallway to room 804. He unlocked the door and held it open for her. The suite was massive sitting area, bedroom visible through an open door, floor-to-ceiling windows, overlooking the city lights of Johannesburg. Zara stayed near the door. Jiwoo stood by the window. "You came," he said finally. "I wanted to see you perform, see that you were okay. I'm okay." He pulled down his mask. His face was thinner than she remembered, shadows under his eyes. "I'm better than okay, actually. Leaving the company was the right choice." "I'm glad, but I haven't been—" He trailed off. "It's been hard. Without you." Her chest tightened. "Jiwoo, I know we can't go back to how things were. I know the NDA, the distance, all of it makes sense logically." He crossed the room, stopped a few feet from her. "But I need you to know, these last 2 months have been the loneliest of my life. And not because I don't have people around me, because I don't have you. You don't know me that well. We worked together for 2 months. I know that you correct people when they're wrong, even when it costs you. I know you stay up late reviewing content because you care about getting it right. I know you sing when you think no one's listening. I know you take your coffee with too much sugar and you hate mornings and you're terrified of failing, but you do things anyway." His voice softened. "I know that when I was breaking down, you didn't try to fix me. You just sat with me. And I know that's the first time in my life anyone has done that." Tears pricked Zara's eyes. "This is impossible. You know that, right? You're one of the biggest stars in Korea. I'm a translator with an expiring visa. So we figure it out. I'm independent now. I make my own decisions. I control my own narrative." He stepped closer. "And I choose you. If you'll have me—" "It's not that simple." "Why not?" "Because," the words burst out of her, "because the world will tear us apart. Because people will say I'm using you, that you're throwing your career away, that we're a scandal waiting to happen. Because I've seen what that looks like, Jiwoo. I've lived through the hatred and the comments and the way people can make you feel like you're worthless just for existing. And I've lived through pretending to be someone I'm not for 8 years. I'm done pretending." His eyes held hers. "The world will say what it says, but I'd rather face that with you than hide who I am without you." She wanted to believe him. Wanted to believe it could be that simple. "What are you actually proposing here?" "I don't know yet. Maybe I split my time between Korea and South Africa. Maybe you come back to Seoul and we figure out visa issues. Maybe we do long distance, for a while until the heat dies down." He took her hands. "I don't have all the answers. But I know I want to try, don't you?" Did she? She'd spent 2 months trying to move on. Trying to convince herself that what they had was just circumstance, just proximity, just 2 people who'd needed each other at the right time. But standing here, his hands warm in hers, she couldn't lie to herself anymore. "I'm terrified," she whispered. "Me too. What if it doesn't work? What if it does?" She looked at him, really looked at him. At the man who'd learned her grandmother's lullaby, who'd fought for African tour stops, who'd walked away from security because he wanted authenticity more than success. "Okay," she said. "Okay, let's try." The smile that broke across his face was worth every moment of doubt. He pulled her into a hug, and she wrapped her arms around him, breathing him in, cologne and exhaustion and relief. "I missed you," he murmured into her hair. "I missed you too." They stood like that for a long time, just holding each other, the city lights of Johannesburg glittering beyond the window. Finally, Zara pulled back. "So what now?" "Now?" Jiwoo checked his phone. "Now I have a dinner with my tour team in 30 minutes. Very official, very boring." He grinned. "Want to come? They'll be shocked, but I don't care. I'm not exactly dressed for a fancy dinner. You're perfect." She rolled her eyes but smiled. "Okay. But you're explaining to your team why you've invited a random woman to their private dinner. You're not random. He paused, searching for the word. You're mine. If that's okay to say. Her heart fluttered. It's okay to say. The dinner was at a restaurant in Santon City. Upscale, private room, team of 10. When Jiwoo walked in with Zara, the room went silent. His tour manager, a woman in her 50s named Ms. Choi, recovered first. Jiwoo, sigh, we weren't expecting a guest. Last-minute change of plans. Everyone, this is Zara. Zara, this is the team that made this tour possible. Introductions were made. Some members of the team recognized her, their expressions carefully neutral. Others didn't. Ms. Choi, to her credit, simply had an extra chair brought in. It's good to see you again, Miss Ndlovu, she said politely. You too. The dinner was awkward at first. The team discussing logistics, upcoming press, post-tour plans, all while carefully avoiding the elephant in the room, Zara's presence. Finally, over dessert, Jiwoo addressed it directly. I know this is unexpected, but I want to be clear about something. He looked around the table. I'm not hiding anymore. Not my relationships, not my choices, not who I am. I'm grateful for everyone's work on this tour, but moving forward, my personal life is my own. I'll handle the press, the narrative, all of it. That's not on any of you. Miss Choi set down her fork. Jiwoo, see, with all respect, the press will not be kind, especially after the previous scandal. They'll dig into your relationship, into Ms. Ndlovu's background, into everything. Let them. Your career will survive, or it won't. But either way, I'm doing this on my own terms. The table was silent. Then Miss Choi smiled slightly. Well, I suppose that's what independence means, doesn't it? The tension broke. The team continued discussing plans, and slowly, Zara felt herself relax. She wasn't invisible at the table. When they discussed the African leg of future tours, they asked her opinion. When they talked about content strategy, they acknowledged her expertise. It wasn't acceptance exactly, but it was a start. After dinner, as the team dispersed, Miss Choi pulled Zara aside. I was against the company's decision to let you go, she said quietly. For what it's worth, you were good for him. Good for the work, thank you. But this won't be easy. You know that. I know, Miss Choi nodded. Good luck, to both of you. Jiwoo walked Zara out to the valet. That went better than expected, he said. Your team is professional. They'll adapt. They will. But more importantly, are you okay? That was a lot, she considered. I'm okay. Nervous. But okay. Her taxi pulled up. Jiwoo opened the door for her, but before she got in, he caught her hand. What did you have in mind? I don't know. Coffee? A walk? I just want time with you. No teams, no schedule, no pressure. She smiled. I'd like that. I'll text you in the morning. She started to get in the taxi, then stopped, turned back, kissed his cheek quickly. Thank you. For tonight. For all of it. His smile was radiant. Thank you for coming. She got in the taxi, and as it pulled away, she looked back through the rear window. He stood there watching her go, hands in his pockets, that smile still on his face. For the first time in months, the future felt possible. The next morning, Jiwoo texted at 8 a.m. Coffee at 10? There's a place in Maboneng I've been wanting to try. How do you know about Maboneng? I research everywhere I visit. Also, Miss Choi's assistant is from Joburg and gave me recommendations. 10 works. Send me the address. Zara spent longer than necessary getting ready. Jeans and a nice top, the scarf draped over her shoulders. She told herself it wasn't a date, just two people getting coffee, but her racing heart disagreed. The cafe was small, artsy, walls covered in local artwork. Jiwoo was already there when she arrived, sitting in a corner booth, mask on but unmistakable. He stood when he saw her, pulled out her chair. Very gentlemanly, she teased. I'm trying to make a good impression. You already did, 2 months ago. With soup you didn't eat. He laughed, really laughed. The sound was lighter than she remembered. They ordered coffee for him, rooibos tea for her, then sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Tell me about Cape Town, he said. Your family, your life before Seoul. I realized I never asked enough questions before, so she told him. About growing up in Soweto, about her grandmother who'd raised her while her mother worked 2 jobs. About university in Cape Town, studying linguistics because she loved the way languages connected people. about the restlessness that had driven her to Seoul, the belief that there was something more waiting for her somewhere else. "And was there?" he asked. "Something more?" "I don't know yet. I found you. That feels like something. It's definitely something." He told her about his life too. About training as a teenager, the pressure to be perfect, the loneliness of fame. About his family in Busan, who he barely saw. About the music he wanted to make now that he was free. Less polished, more honest, songs about real things instead of safe things. "I want to write a song about you," he admitted. "About this. Is that weird?" "Depends on the song. It would be honest, about meeting someone who changed everything, about being brave enough to choose them." Her throat tightened. "That's not weird. That's beautiful." They talked for 2 hours. The cafe filled and emptied around them. At one point, a fan recognized him and approached nervously, asking for a photo. He obliged, kind and professional, then immediately returned his attention to Zara. "Does that bother you?" he asked. "The public thing? I'd be lying if I said it didn't make me nervous. But I'm learning that nothing worth having is comfortable." Very philosophical. "I have my moments." When they finally left the cafe, Jiwoo suggested a walk. They wandered through Mabaneng, past art galleries and street vendors, talking about everything and nothing. At one point, he took her hand. Casual, natural, like they'd done it 1,000 times before. "I fly back to Seoul tonight," he said as they circled back toward where they'd started. "I know. Come with me." She stopped walking. "What? Come back to Seoul? Not permanently, not yet, but visit, stay for a few weeks. Let me show you the city without deadlines and pressure and scandal. Let me take you on actual dates. Let me..." He paused. "Let me prove this is real." "Jiwoo, I can't just..." "Why not? You're doing freelance work. You can do that anywhere, and I'll cover your ticket, your accommodation, everything." "I don't want your money. It's not about money. It's about time. About giving this a real chance before you decide whether to stay in Seoul or go back to Cape Town or go somewhere else entirely." His eyes held hers. "I'm not asking you to upend your life. I'm asking you for a few weeks to figure out if this could work." She wanted to say yes. Every part of her wanted to say yes. But doubt crept in. What if it doesn't work? What if we realize we were just two people who needed each other at the right time and that's all it was? Then at least we'll know. We'll have tried. He squeezed her hand. "I'd rather try and fail than spend the rest of my life wondering what if." She thought about the last 2 months. The loneliness, the what ifs, the way she'd second-guessed every decision. "Okay," she said. "Okay, I'll come to Seoul for 3 weeks. Then I decide what's next." His smile was incandescent. 3 weeks. I can work with that. 2 days later, Zara boarded a plane to Seoul. Her mother had hugged her at the airport. Whispered, "Be brave, be smart, be happy," into her ear. Jiwoo had flown back separately, press obligations, post-tour meetings, but he'd texted throughout her flight with updates. "Landed. Press conference in an hour. They asked about you. I said no comment. Very mysterious. What time do you land? I'm picking you up." "You don't have to do that. I want to." When she arrived at Incheon, exhausted and rumpled from 15 hours in economy, Jiwoo was waiting at arrivals. Mask, cap, but unmistakably him. He took her suitcase, led her to a car where a driver waited. "Where are we going?" "My apartment. Don't worry, it has a guest room. His apartment was in Hanam-dong, spacious and modern, with a view of the Han River. He showed her the guest, room comfortable, private, decorated in neutral tones. "Make yourself at home. Sleep, shower, whatever you need. I have a meeting at 3, but I'll be back for dinner. You don't have to babysit me." After he left, Zara unpacked, showered, stood at the window looking out at Seoul. The city where she'd failed, where she'd succeeded, where she'd met him. It felt different this time, less hostile, more like possibility. The 3 weeks that followed were unlike anything Zara had experienced. Jiwoo was busy, meetings with producers, sessions with his new label team, interviews about his independence. But he carved out time for her. Dinners at restaurants tucked into quiet neighborhoods. Walks along the Han River at night. A trip to Busan to meet his family, who were warm and welcoming and curious about the woman their son had brought home. He's different with you, his mother said while they prepared dinner together. Lighter, more himself. He's just finally free, Zara replied. No, he's been free before. He's happy now. That's different. Jiwoo took her to the recording studio where he was working on new music, played her demos, asked her opinion. One song in particular, a ballad about finding someone unexpected, made her cry. Is that about... Yes, it's beautiful. You're beautiful. He also dealt with the press, carefully, strategically. He confirmed they were dating but refused to discuss details. Posted a photo of them on Instagram, just their hands, the scarf visible on her wrist like a bracelet. The caption, Ubuntu. I am, because we are. The comments were mixed. Supportive fans, hateful trolls, curious observers. But the narrative was shifting. Not a scandal anymore. A relationship. On her last night before she had to decide stay longer or go back to Cape Town, Jiwoo took her to Namsan Tower at sunset. They stood at the observation deck, Seoul sprawling below them, and he turned to her. I have a proposal. Should I be nervous? Maybe. He smiled. I'm starting my own company. Small, independent, focused on artistic freedom. I want you to be part of it. Jiwoo, not as an artist, as the head of global content strategy. You'd work with me and other artists who want to connect authentically with international audiences. You'd have full creative control, competitive salary, work visa sponsorship, and you'd be your own boss. Well, technically I'm your boss, but we both know you'd actually be running things. She stared at him. You're offering me a job? I'm offering you a partnership, in the company and in life if you want it. He took her hands. I know 3 weeks isn't long. I know we're still figuring this out. But I know I want you here, however that looks. Whatever you need to feel safe and valued and free. Her eyes filled with tears. I don't know what to say. Say yes. Or say you need time to think about it. Or say no. Whatever's true. She looked out at Seoul, at the city that had broken her and rebuilt her and brought her to this moment. Then she looked at him, at the man who'd hidden in a restaurant booth, who'd learned her grandmother's lullaby, who'd chosen honesty over safety at every turn. Yes, she said. Yes. Yes to the job. Yes to staying. Yes to figuring this out together. His smile was radiant. He pulled her close, kissed her forehead, then her cheek, then, finally, her lips. Soft, sweet, certain. Around them, Seoul glittered in the fading light. We're really doing this, he murmured against her lips. We're really doing this. The press will have a field day. Let them. We'll write our own story. He laughed and kissed her again, and she kissed him back, the scarf wrapped around her shoulders and the future stretching out before them, uncertain but possible. Ubuntu. I am because we are. And for the first time in her life, Zara understood what that truly meant.